Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if, Naruto uses the water style in Kenjutsu, part 1, hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Thick mist had settled oppressively over the bridge. Naruto could barely make out Haku's delicate, strangely feminine features. The other ninja was still speaking, and Naruto had, in a move that would have amazed nearly everyone who knew him, chosen to remain silent. Indeed, he didn't know if he could muster the words to speak even if he wanted to. Haku's pained words resonated uncomfortably in Naruto's mind and soul. Do you know the pain of living without a dream? The knowledge that no one in the world needs you? Those eyes, once full of warmth and determination while they had casually spoken amidst the trees, were now empty and dull as they bored into him. What are you trying to say? Naruto ground out, his confusion and anger reflected on his face. Zabuza-san has no need for a weak shinobi. You stole my reason for existing, Haku was smiling, as if amused at a secret joke. Naruto was quickly coming to realize that his smile, his expression, and his tone of voice were all masks under which Haku hid his true feelings. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Why? Why do you fight for the sake of that guy? He couldn't comprehend it. Zabuza was a terrible person, while Haku was in many ways a reflection of himself. So why? He's an evil ninja who gets money from bad guys and does terrible things. Naruto's voice grew louder, and he began to gesture angrily. Is that no brow the only precious person you have? Haku was silent for a moment before answering. Once, a long time ago, I had people that were precious to me. His eyes dropped. My parents. As Haku's story unfolded, Naruto couldn't help but feel the sense of kinship with the tragic ninja grow. It was a horrifying story, and a part of Naruto, the part that was still innocent, couldn't comprehend that humans could be so cruel to each other. Another, larger part of him understood all too well. Naruto listened numbly as Haku fully described the death of his parents. When I came to, I realized that I had just killed my own father, and at the time, I thought of myself as I had no choice but to think of myself as being. I realized that that was the most painful thing a person could feel. The most painful thing. Naruto's voice was small as he voiced his query. The feeling that your existence is needed by no one in this world. Haku's dead eyes haunted Naruto almost as much as his words did. He's the same as me. Naruto didn't know how to describe the strange melange of feelings that thought stirred within him. He was relieved that others like him existed, that he wasn't alone in his pain. He wanted to weep in grief for the very same reason. He wanted to reach out to Haku, but at the same time he was terrified. He understood this person. Conversely, Haku could understand Naruto. You said this to me, I want to become the #1 ninja in my village and have everyone recognize me. When someone who accepts you from the bottom of their heart appears, that person should become the most important person to you. Zabuza-san knew that I was from a family with a bloodline limit, yet he still raised me. He wanted this ability that everyone else hated. Haku's head lowered in remembrance. A brat like you won't be needed by anyone, and you'll die a beggar. Haku smiled up at the towering Mist Nin. You have the same eyes as me. Zabuza stared at the tiny, hollow-eyed child for a long moment. Kid, do you want to be needed by someone? Zabuza asked gruffly. Can you give everything to me? Beggar child and continued to match gazes. Haku gave a single, slow nod. Then, starting today, your ability is mine. Haku rose and moved to Zabuza's side. The man patted Haku's head once with his large calloused hand before drawing Haku close. Come with me. Haku's expression twisted in bittersweet sorrow. I was happy. Haku still remembered clearly the night that they had left the country of water. But that memory brought Haku no happiness. He had failed in his pledge. I'm sorry, Zabuza-san. I couldn't be the tool you wished for me to be after all. Haku's head lifted and he began to walk towards Naruto. Naruto anxiously took a step back. Haku stopped and gazed down at him. Naruto-kun, Haku said, please kill me. Naruto couldn't understand how a person could serenely ask for death like that. Haku had given up. Why was a single defeat so unacceptable? Did Zabuza really mean that much to him? Please kill me, Naruto clenched his jaw as Haku repeated the request. Dull eyes stared down at him. Why are you hesitating? Naruto looked away, pained, and stepped back. I can't believe that stupid story. Weapon. Tool. Someone like that is a precious person to you? That's okay with you. His hands rose, partly in anger, partly pleading. That's not right, it can't be. Is it wrong? Haku's question, so contradictory to Naruto's inner thoughts, stopped him in his tracks. What? He drew back in surprise. How is that wrong? Naruto's expression wilted, but that's. Zabuza-san had hopes for me. He needed me. Memories flashed through Haku's mind. But now, I have lost the purpose that made me who I am. Zabuza-san will no longer need me anymore. Naruto's face reflected his despair. That's why I am asking you. Haku paused. Now, hurry, Haku continued almost urgently. Naruto took another step back, agonized. Haku's eyes narrowed slightly. "Why are you still hesitating?" Naruto growled in frustration. "I don't understand," he shouted. "Is remaining strong the only reason you have for staying in this world?" Haku's serene expression never wavered, nor did the other ninja offer an answer to Naruto. "You could have made people recognize you for something else other than just fighting," he finished, his tone pleading. "The day I met you in the forest, I felt that you and I were alike," Haku said. "That's what I thought." Naruto's eyes widened in shock. "You should understand." Haku paused for a moment before continuing. "I'm sorry that I have to soil your hands." "Is this the only way?" Naruto agonized. What was this feeling welling up inside? Despair? Defeat? Naruto couldn't name it, but he knew for sure that he didn't like it. He didn't like the black bowl of misery that had settled in his stomach. He didn't want to kill this person. Haku wasn't his enemy. He wasn't a faceless shinobi anymore, not just some evil nin that Naruto had spent years daydreaming about beating into the ground. Haku was Haku. He killed Sasuke, whispered something in the back of his mind. "That's true, but still, yes." There was no doubt in Haku's voice or posture. The other boy was serene in the face of death. The misery grew bigger, and Naruto waged a brief internal war with himself. Naruto closed his eyes. "If I had met you in some other place, we might have become friends." There was a lifetime worth of pain lurking behind Naruto's words. Why did it turn out to be like this? When Naruto's eyes snapped open, they were filled with deadly determination. His hand dropped to his right thigh and drew a kunai. He was scarcely aware of that first step towards Haku, but he thought that he could feel every minute detail of the cold, damp handle of the kunai as he drew it from his leg holster. He was moving, perhaps, as fast as he had ever moved before. Chakra pumped through his legs, accelerating his movement. For a brief whimsical second, his mind flashed back to the tree climbing training. He had never considered that he would be using those hard-earned skills to kill someone, especially so soon. It was all about dreams, or at least it had been. His newfound knowledge that he had been so eager to learn now left a bitter taste in his mouth. This is what it means to be a strong shinobi and to protect someone. Haku was almost smiling. Grab hold of your dream. The battle cry was sounding from Naruto's throat, though he wasn't aware of it. Sasuke had a dream, too. The vision of Sasuke's still, cold body, filled with, was painfully clear in Naruto's mind. He could remember all too well the humiliation, the shock, and then the desperation and grief that had come before the rage. "That man, I didn't want to die until I killed my brother." Dark eyes, fading and glossy as the light left from them. Naruto's hand tightened on the kunai. "You're okay with that?" He was closing quickly now. The distance between the two ninja was decreasing rapidly. Naruto's vision narrowed. The beat of his heart seemed impossibly loud in his ears, and his footsteps seemed to reverberate throughout the bridge. He was screaming now, though he didn't know it. "Are you really okay with that?" Haku really did smile, watching as Naruto closed the gap between them. Those blue eyes were bright with anger and determination. Naruto had found his resolution to kill. "Thank you. You will become strong." Haku's eyes slid shut as a sense of peace filled him. "I don't understand, I'll never understand it." The kunai whistled as it cut through the air seeking soft, frail human flesh. A sense of deep foreboding washed over Haku and his eyes snapped open in alarm. But it was too late, even for Haku's superb reflexes. Cold, dark steel pierced deeply into Haku's side. Haku drew a burbling breath and blood welled up in his mouth. There was no strength left to speak or worry or even think. Soon there was no strength left to draw breath and then there was nothing at all. Naruto gazed in numb horror at the blood. There was so much of it. His hands were coated with it, as was his kunai, still lodged in Haku's body. He felt warm drops of blood dripping macabre trails across his face. No thoughts went through his mind as he watched his enemy struggle for breath as blood welled from his wound, from his mouth, from his nose. No. What have I done? The mist was clearing. Sakura and Tazuna could only watch and wonder at the two shadows before them. One moved and then Sakura could barely track it. A strange noise, like the chirping of countless little birds, registered with her senses. There was a flash, a wet sound, and then she saw blood fly. The mist was clearing and Kakashi-sensei had punched his hand straight through Zabuza's chest. The chirping noise died away and the summoned dogs that had sealed Zabuza's movement exploded in small clouds of smoke, their jobs completed. Sakura's stomach twisted at the sight of the dead enemy, but there was also relief that their most dangerous opponent was dead. Her relief was short-lived, however, as Naruto came into view. Quickly, tugging the bridge building along with her, she began to make her way over to her blonde teammate. "Naruto?" Sakura called. Naruto didn't respond, didn't even so much as twitch at the sound of her voice, which prompted a sliver of worry in Sakura's mind. "Naruto?" She cried again, where Sakura trailed off as she and Tazuna began to truly make out the details of Naruto's appearance. Blood was dripping from the short ninja's hands. It was on his face as well, and there were dark stains on his clothing. Naruto's carriage made it unlikely that the blood was his. The still body of Zabuza's accomplice served as a silent affirmation of that conclusion. Both the bridge builder and the Kunoichi were shocked at the sight, though Sakura was far more surprised than Tazuna. Tazuna was shocked that the little loudmouth blonde had killed someone, especially a ninja, as skilled as Haku seemingly was, but he had already grown to respect Naruto as a person and as a ninja. Sakura, however, still harbored many of the prejudices and misconceptions that she had developed towards Naruto over the years. In Konoha, labels like genius and dead last carried a great deal of weight. It shouldn't have mattered much, especially among the older and more experienced shinobi, but it did. The Sakura, Riki Genin, recent graduate of the academy and admirer of Uchiha Sasuke, it carried even more weight. She had never questioned Sasuke's superiority or Naruto's inferiority. She had never considered that Naruto would ever become a decent ninja or that he could really accomplish his dream. However, the mission to Wave Country was disabusing her of many preconceived notions that she had had about the world. She had discovered that being a ninja could be terrifying and dangerous beyond belief. The genin of Team 7 had all been surprised to learn that the incredibly tardy, perverted, and irreverent Kakashi-sensei was a ninja of almost legendary stature. Sakura had also learned that Sasuke-kun's level of skill and accomplishment meant very little in the wider world, and Naruto wasn't anything like she had pegged him to be. It was Naruto, not Sasuke, who had remembered Kakashi-sensei's lesson on teamwork and devised a plan to free their teacher from Zabuza's Suru no Jutsu. He had surprised her again with his determination during training, and though he had started slowly, Naruto had ended up completing the training at the same time as Sasuke-kun. Now he had surprised her once again. Sasuke-kun had been the first to engage the fake hunter nin, but it was apparently Naruto who had finished the job. How Naruto, the dead last of the academy, could have finished off the highly skilled masked ninja, Sakura did not know. Nor was she in the mindset to probe too deeply, worried as she was over Sasuke-kun. Naruto? She called again, moving closer and tugging Tazuna along with her. Naruto twitched visibly at her call, which she considered an improvement over his previous unresponsiveness. Encouraged, she went on, "Where is Sasuke-kun?" Naruto flinched, looking away. After a moment, he turned his head towards Sasuke's body. Sakura, now extremely worried, began to jog in the indicated direction. She passed Naruto without a second glance. Naruto's hands had curled into tight white-knuckled fists by the time he heard Sakura begin weeping behind him. Even so, he walked towards the now visible Kakashi-sensei, who was standing over the prone body of Zabuza. The Sharingan was once again covered, and Kakashi's single eye gazed emotionlessly down at his fallen foe. As Naruto approached, he lifted his head and gave his student a glance. The glance quickly widened into a surprised stare as he took in Naruto's bloody, ragged appearance and empty expression. Quickly, he looked for his other students and soon saw the hunched form of Sakura bent over the still body of Sasuke. Tazuna was standing behind her, sad but unharmed. For an instant, Kakashi's single visible eye seemed to droop in sorrow. The instant was soon over, and the silver-haired was all business again. "Haku?" His tone was emotionless, but brisk. Naruto's shoulders shook slightly, but otherwise his expression remained hollow. "Dead," he replied. Kakashi sighed, relieved that the two main threats to Tazuna had been neutralized. But he was still worried. Is this the end of Team 7? And Sasuke? Kakashi was pretty certain of the answer, but he needed confirmation. Naruto opened his mouth to reply, but he was cut off before he could begin. Raucous laughter echoed across the bridge. Students and teachers turned in unison, only to see a dense crowd of mercenaries arrayed at the unfinished end of the bridge. A boat was anchored off to the right, answering the question of how they had gotten there. Kakashi mentally cursed. This is bad. They must have come in after Naruto's seal began to slip, he reasoned. The feeling of the Kyuubi's chakra had distracted him too much from his surroundings, and now Team 7 would pay the price for that slip. There were too many mercenaries for him to deal with, wounded and low on chakra, as he was. Gato, the source of the laugh, stood at the forefront of the mercenaries, the very picture of confidence. Of course, Kakashi thought wryly, he has scores of hired thugs, and his opposition is a genin cell with only 2 effective genin, and with almost no chakra. Gato's confidence wasn't completely unwarranted, though Kakashi hoped he would be able to change that. Still, it wouldn't be easy. Kakashi had no soldier pills to temporarily boost his chakra, and Naruto and Sakura weren't at a level where they could challenge that many armed men and survive. Retreat wasn't an option either, with Tazuna to worry about and a defenseless town nearby. The squat man in the suit finished laughing. Gato sighed in mock disappointment at the corpses of his hires. Some demon, he snorted. For all his big words, he lost that badly. Shaking his head, he turned his glance towards Kakashi. I was hoping that you shinobi would kill each other off and save me the trouble and the money of getting rid of you. I guess he was just a cute little demon after all. Still, good work for getting rid of Zabuza for me. Kakashi's single visible eye narrowed dangerously, but Gato continued on. Normally, I would offer to pay you off so that you wouldn't interfere, but it looks like Zabuza and his little brat did some good after all and managed to wear you out. Naruto growled angrily, taking a threatening step forward. Quickly, Kakashi grabbed his student. Stop, he cautioned, don't move carelessly. The blonde struggled briefly against his teacher's hold, unable to calmly deal with Gato's provocation. Seeing Naruto's rage, Gato chuckled again in amusement. Angry, little brat. He mocked. I see you have blood all over your hands. Were you the one that killed Zabuza's little pet ninja? Naruto, who had been in the process of calming down after Kakashi's admonishment, lunged forward again. Kakashi's grip was the only thing restraining Naruto from charging headlong into the band of merciless hired killers. Gato took Naruto's reaction as confirmation. Good work for a short little brat like you. He chortled. I wanted to do it myself, but I guess I can live without doing the deed personally. After all, I owed him a favor for gripping my hand until it broke. Gato began to laugh again, loudly and obnoxiously. It was the laugh that sealed his fate. Kakashi looked at Naruto apprehensively and tightened his grip on the genin. The boy had become uncharacteristically silent and still once Gato had begun to laugh. His eyes were closed, but Kakashi could see the stark tension in his body language. Naruto was a passionate person by nature and he grew angry easily and often. However, Kakashi had never seen his student become quiet or stay still while angry and it gave him an ominous feeling. Was Kyuubi's influence still present and acting to incite Naruto, or was there something about his encounter with Haku that Kakashi didn't know about? Inside Naruto, Kyuubi's chakra was indeed still moving. However, it was mostly due to the rage Naruto was feeling rather than any designs on Kyuubi's part. Naruto was angry. He was extremely angry. Listening to Gato talk, hearing him demean Zabuza, Haku, and Team 7 like they were trash was almost too much for Naruto to accept. But the pleased way he spoke of Haku's death and the way he laughed about it afterwards, that was what truly broke Naruto's already fragile self-control. Gato was laughing at Haku's death, a death that Naruto was directly responsible for. He was dismissing Haku's worth, his existence, as a person, and Naruto couldn't bear that. Haku had been a good person, and more importantly, he had been just like Naruto. Haku had known the same pain, the same loneliness, and the same desire to be needed and acknowledged. Yet here was Gato, not even a ninja, a person who could never understand the pain Naruto and Haku had known, laughing. Naruto recognized the laughter, it had been branded into his soul. It was a laugh that mocked Haku and everything he had stood for. It mocked his dreams and ideals, and it degraded his worth. Naruto recognized it since he had been laughed at and mocked in the same way by countless people throughout his whole life. They had dismissed him, hated him, and stepped all over his dreams and ambitions. Now, someone was doing the same thing to Haku, who was dead and could never come back. Deep within Naruto, something felt his rage. Massive crimson eyes snapped open, and a cruel smirk tugged at inhuman lips, revealing monstrous canines. Red eyes began to glow faintly with malevolent power. Naruto opened his eyes. Had Kakashi been able to see Naruto's expression or the way that his normally round pupils had become malevolent vertical slits, he might have been able to prevent what came next. Naruto, strengthened by the demon's chakra, broke free of Kakashi's restraining hold with ease. There was a moment of absolute silence on the bridge as both Kakashi and the mercenaries went still in surprise and Gato's laughter stopped. Rapid footsteps echoed across the bridge and Naruto's kunai whispered as it was unsheathed from his leg holster. Gato took a trembling step back, surprise and fear etched in his face. Then he saw Naruto's eyes, inhuman and colored like blood. They were the eyes of a demon. Gato shrieked, stumbling backwards. Hey! He yelled, shaking the mercenaries out of their surprise, kill those guys. He received an enthusiastic response from the thugs. Weapons were readied and they confidently prepared to meet the enraged charge of the lone genin. The man in front, armed with a large saw-bladed cleaver, smirked at Naruto. Idiot. He scoffed. Do you think you can beat so many on your own? He trailed off, his confident voice wavering as Naruto's charge accelerated. The last thing he saw before Naruto's kunai sliced his throat open was the boy's red, inhuman eyes. Naruto carved through the thugs with speed and strength, far surpassing his natural abilities. Rage left his mind mercifully blank of thought. His shinobi training combined with instincts far older and more primal, allowing him to carve a bloody swath through his enemies as he pursued the retreating businessman. Enhanced instinctive reflexes enabled him to avoid the many attacks coming his way, but that could not last forever when outnumbered so greatly. The spear from behind pierced his shoulder, but the pain only fueled his anger. He turned to kill the one who had wounded him, but he was too late. Kakashi had slipped in on the wake of chaos Naruto's charge had created, and the spear wielder was already slumping to the ground, neck bent at an unnatural angle, when Naruto turned. Kakashi's Sharingan was once again revealed, and he countered the attacks of the mercenaries with an air of ease despite his exhaustion. Kakashi was well aware that he couldn't keep things up for much longer. Still, despite Naruto's reckless stupidity, he was still Kakashi's student and he had to be protected. However, a single glance at Naruto revealed that he didn't need much protection. His eyes, enlarged canines, and jagged whisker marks made for an intimidating appearance, which was only enhanced by the blood dripping from his clawed hands. Raw, unfocused killing intent poured out of the boy, creating a heavy, almost suffocating aura around him. But what was more terrifying, especially to the men around him, was the fact that the spear through his shoulder had been ejected, seemingly by itself, and the wound was healing at an incredible rate. Kakashi was extremely worried after seeing his student up close. Kyuubi's chakra was obviously running rampant through Naruto's body, and Kakashi didn't know how to stop it, nor was he in a condition to kill Naruto, should he truly grow out of control. Before he could attempt to calm Naruto down, the boy tensed and launched himself forward. In moments, he had torn past the rearmost mercenaries and was rapidly approaching Gato, who had reached the end of the bridge. Gato was quivering in fear at the blood-soaked genin's rapid approach. His legs shivered, and no matter how hard he tried he could hardly seem to move them. Naruto bore in, the very image of death to Gato's terrified mind. Looming behind the blonde ninja, Gato saw a terrible vision. A massive canine face with eyes just like the ones Naruto bore now glared down at him, and terrible jaws parted in cruel hunger. Gato lost control of his bladder. The demon, he whimpered in horror. Naruto's arm, kunai clenched tightly in his fist, came up. The smooth horizontal arc that followed was too fast for Gato to see, but when it made contact with his neck he died almost instantly afterward. Gato's head, his face still frozen in a terrified grimace, sailed over the end of the bridge and into the cold water below. His headless body quickly followed, as a result of a casual kick from Naruto. Several men sought to attack him from behind, but a single glance from Naruto stopped them in their tracks. Naruto's killing intent, enhanced exponentially by the Kyuubi's dreadful chakra, was more than enough to terrify the nearby mercenaries. A single chakra-enhanced leap took him over the group of mercenaries. Kakashi, who had retreated back to Zabuza's corpse as soon as Naruto had killed Gato, watched his student anxiously. However, the boy made no moves to attack him. Naruto stood still for a long moment. He trembled visibly, and when he began to approach closer Kakashi saw that his eyes were once again blue. Blue, but also dull. The shadows under his eyes made him look as if he had been crying or hadn't slept for days. Naruto stared down at his bloody hands with a strange, almost bewildered look in his eyes. It was as if he didn't recognize his own hands. Kakashi eyed his student, wondering what he should say in this situation, or if he should say anything at all. His heartbeat was loud in his ears. I. The sound of soft girlish weeping grew louder as each second passed. Sakura. Sasuke struggled to open his eyes. Dimly, he could see the bridge builder standing over him and Sakura weeping on his chest. Aye. Sakura, you're heavy, Sasuke muttered hoarsely. Sakura gasped and jerked up in shock. Sasuke-kun. Her voice was small, incredulous at his revival, but he could hear the rising hope there, as well. Sasuke could only blink weakly in reply. Tazuna gasped. Sakura, tears pouring afresh down her face, reached down and clutched him tightly, burying her face in his chest as she did so. Sasuke-kun. 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 She sobbed. Sasuke gasped in pain. Sakura, he hissed out between clenched teeth, that hurts. He shook his head from side to side, as if to escape her painful hold. Tazuna reached up to wipe the tears from his own eyes as he listened to Sakura's relieved sobs. You must be happy, Sakura. Sasuke struggled to sit up, his jaw clenching tightly as pain that lanced through him. You shouldn't try to move, Sakura scolded worriedly. He ignored her advice. Where's Naruto? And what happened to that masked guy? It hurt to talk, but he had to know. Naruto is safe, Sakura replied, and that masked boy died. She looked aside, her expression suddenly downcast. Died? Sasuke gasped. He quickly brought his head up to stare at Sakura. Did Naruto kill him? Sakura hesitated, but Sasuke's gaze bored intensely into her. I don't know the details, but she trailed off briefly, not able to meet Sasuke's gaze. It seems like he did. Sasuke turned to stare at Haku's still form and then to Naruto, whose hands were stained red with blood. Naruto, you. Sakura, eager to change the topic, went on, I believed in you, Sasuke-kun. You must have dodged the attacks to avoid critical damage, right? Smiling, Sakura rose to her feet. Sasuke stared at the ground. That guy must have done it on purpose from the beginning. Sasuke didn't know what to think. Naruto had killed the ninja that he couldn't defeat. That ninja had subdued him easily, without using lethal violence. Was he really that weak? Naruto? Sakura called happily. Naruto flinched at the sound of her voice. Sakura-chan. He turned to see Sakura waving, a big smile lighting up her face, and Sasuke slowly rising to his feet. Sasuke-kun is okay. He's alive. He turned fully around to face Sakura, stunned. Sasuke looked away, embarrassed, and slowly raised his left arm in response to Naruto's disbelieving stare. Naruto smiled, a deep sense of relief filling him. Tears formed at the corners of his eyes, and he laughed softly in joy. Then he turned to Haku's body, and his expression drooped. I see that Sasuke was alive after all. Haku hadn't killed him. But Naruto had killed Haku. A renewed sense of grief consumed him. Why, I see. Sasuke is safe, too, Kakashi murmured. I'm glad, he sighed, relieved. Oi, oi, oi. The thug pounded his staff into the ground, glaring at the Konoha ninja, and bringing their attention back to the matter at hand. You guys are feeling too safe, he chided. The katana-wielding mercenary beside him nodded in agreement. You damn ninja killed our source of money, he growled, emboldened by the mutterings of his comrades. The mercenary's fear was ebbing away, as greed and anger and not a little humiliation at being beaten by such a small boy overrode their recent terror. It helped that the demon that had so effortlessly sliced through their ranks no longer seemed very intimidating. Indeed, the suffocating pressure, the weight that had felt like the hand of death had fallen across the bridge, was gone. The crimson-eyed, bloody-clawed demon was gone. In its place, there was nothing but a dazed and exhausted little boy. The staff wielder smirked cruelly. Now we'll have to attack the town and steal all of the valuables. The group cheered in agreement. Kakashi frowned in consternation. They've regrouped already. He put a voice to his thoughts. This is bad. Naruto, temporarily shaken from his stupor and all out of anger, whirled to face Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, don't you have a technique that can just beat them all at once? He asked worriedly. Not possible, Kakashi replied. I've used up too much chakra. The temporary spokesman of the mercenaries whipped his weapon forward. Let's go. He roared. The thugs began to charge en masse, yelling, as they went. The steel crossbow bolt arced down and buried itself into the pavement in front of the charging thugs. It served to halt their rush, and they milled about in confusion. Kakashi and Naruto quickly turned to spot its source and gasped in surprise. Inari had fired the bolt, and behind him stood a great many of the island's inhabitants, all armed. Anyone who gets any closer to this island will die facing the force of this island. This firm declaration was met with a fierce cry from the islanders. Inari! Naruto shouted happily. The boy in question grinned in return. Heroes are supposed to come late, he said, mimicking Naruto's words to him back at the house. Izuna was close to weeping with joy. Inari, all of you, their numerical advantage clearly nullified, the mercenaries hesitated fearfully. Naruto, spotting their fear, grinned. Right. I'll help too. His blood-slick hands whipped up quickly to form the seal for his favorite ninjutsu. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He cried. Smoke erupted around him, and when it cleared there were 5 copies of Naruto. Fear in Gator's henchman was quickly growing. Kakashi recognized Naruto's intent. I guess I can use about the same amount of chakra as him and use it as a bluff. Kakashi quickly formed the same seal Naruto had used. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Kakashi was enshrouded in smoke. When it cleared, a line of Kage Bunshin stretched across the entire width of the bridge. Kakashi version, he called, smirking beneath his mask as terror consumed the mercenaries. Shall we begin? Seeing dozens of Kage Bunshin of the blood splattered glaring and cracking their knuckles was too much for the already terrified mercenaries to take. They routed in panic, trampling over each other in their hurry to escape back to the boat. Inari watched them flee, a sense of rising jubilation rising within him. Yeah. He cried happily. The islanders yelled victoriously as the remnants of their oppressors' thugs fled in terror. While the inhabitants of the waves celebrated, the 4 members of Team 7 were somber as they began to wind down and take stock of the situation. Naruto was perhaps the most affected emotionally, though Sasuke nursed his wounded pride and Kakashi just plain nursed his wounds. Sakura hovered near Sasuke, obviously concerned over the state of her crush's health. However, before Kakashi could order his team to return to Tezuna's house for rest and medical treatment, he needed to confirm the deaths of the missing nin duo. He started to walk slowly back towards Abusa's body, saw Naruto standing still with his head bowed, and stopped. Naruto, he called quietly. The boy quickly brought his hands up, no doubt wiping away tears, and turned to face his teacher. When he saw that he had Naruto's attention, Kakashi continued, go check the other body. He saw Naruto flinch, as if struck. We need to confirm things here. If you're a ninja, act like it. It was cruel of him, but it would hopefully force Naruto to deal with the issue. After all, any ninja who hoped to become a Kage would have to accept the reality of death. Shinobi killed and were often killed themselves in turn. Naruto had to learn that. Naruto shuffled over to Haku's body. Mechanically, he knelt, put his fingers over the main artery in Haku's neck, and applied pressure. He waited for several moments, not really expecting to feel anything, but something in him hoped of course he's dead. All that blood he jerked in surprise. Was that? Quickly, he reapplied his fingers and waited, a faint flicker of hope stirring within him. Hope quickly began to fade however, when he did not feel anything. A moment later, just as he was about to remove his hand, he felt something again. Eyes narrowed in concentration, his whole body tense, he waited. There. He felt almost as jubilant as the festive islanders. There was still life left in Haku's body, faint as it was. "Kakashi-sensei." He yelled, heedless of the happy tears falling from his eyes. "Come quick." Kakashi was at his side in an instant, motivated by the sheer urgency in Naruto's voice. He stared at the still features of the and at Naruto's excited expression, in vague confusion. "What is it?" he asked his student. "Has Naruto snapped from the strain?" "He's alive." Naruto shouted. In an instant, Kakashi was down on his knees, testing the apparently still alive ninja's pulse. For a moment, he thought that Naruto really had snapped, and then he felt it. Haku's pulse was extremely weak, but it was still there. He looked at Haku's wound with a critical eye, and soon understood how Haku could still be alive. Kakashi shook his head in disbelief. "I don't know whether to scold you or praise you. Somehow, you managed to miss all of his vital organs, and you foolishly left your kunai lodged in his body. You left behind your weapon, but it did stem the blood flow a bit, keeping him from bleeding totally to death." Kakashi sighed at the blonde's happy antics. He had gotten up and began a silly dance halfway through Kakashi's speech. Number one surprising ninja, indeed, Kakashi thought wryly. If he had done it intentionally it would be impressive. But, I know he didn't pay attention to anatomy lectures in the academy and was trying to strike a killing blow. The fact that he missed, against a docile opponent no less, is pathetic. Still, only Naruto could be so incompetent and have it pay off. He has luck in spades, that kid. Kakashi returned his gaze to Haku and sobered slightly. If he doesn't get treatment right away, he really will die. "Naruto," he said firmly, catching the attention of the dancing boy. "Go see if there are any trained doctors among the islanders." Naruto looked anxiously at Kakashi. Is he going to be okay? Is he Kakashi-sensei? Calm down, Naruto. He'll be alright, as long as he gets the proper treatment in time, I think, so hurry up, will you? Kakashi made a brisk shooting motion. Naruto, filled with a renewed sense of urgency, took off at a run. Kakashi ignored the blonde's strident shouts for a doctor and began to examine the wound more closely. "I said all of that to Naruto, but still, it looks pretty serious. I only know some very basic medical techniques and only because I copied them." Kakashi sighed regretfully. Knowing medical techniques and having the skill and the knowledge to use them well were two different things entirely. Kakashi remembered Naruto's pained eyes when he reported Haku's death and the unabashed tears of relief he had shed when he had found out that Haku was alive. "I don't have much chakra left, but I guess I'll do what I can." The Jounin sensei of Team 7 took a deep breath. He quickly formed a series of hand seals, all the while dredging up everything he knew about the human body and medical theory. His gloved hands took on a green-blue hue as chakra emitted from them. "I hope this works." It turned out that there were several skilled doctors in the wave, 3 of which were in the crowd on the bridge at that particular time. The tiny wave country had once had a thriving hospital with quite a few skilled surgeons. Gato's successful campaign to crush the wave's economy had forced the hospital to shut down, and most of the doctors had left for other, larger countries. Some, however, had remained behind, mostly because those particular doctors had strong ties to the island. It took Naruto less than a minute to locate Tazuna among the crowd. Upon understanding the situation, the bridge builder had immediately gathered the few medically trained islanders present. Naruto sent one to look at Sasuke's injuries and then promptly began to drag the other 2 towards Haku. "Kakashi-sensei." He called exuberantly, "I found them." Is he still Naruto trailing off uncertainty? His teacher was kneeling over Haku, panting in clear exhaustion. Nonetheless, his hands glowed with chakra and there was steam rising from Haku's wound. Amazed, Naruto and the doctors stopped. Kakashi had removed the kunai from Haku's side, yet there was no blood coming out of the wound. "Kakashi-sensei," he called again, hesitantly, "what are you doing?" Kakashi looked up at Naruto, noting the 2 islanders by his side. "Doctors," he assumed with no small amount of relief. "These are the doctors?" he asked Naruto. The boy nodded in confirmation. Kakashi let out a deep breath and stopped the flow of chakra to his hands. "I've performed some emergency treatment," he addressed the pair of islanders, "and the bleeding has been stopped, for the most part. The rest is up to you guys." He stood, wincing in pain, as he did so. "Naruto, go get Sakura and help her get Sasuke back to Tazuna's house. I'll escort Tazuna back after things get sorted out here." Naruto nodded quickly and began to make his way towards his teammates, but he didn't make it more than a few steps before he heard a muffled thump behind him. Turning in alarm, he saw that Kakashi-sensei had fallen face down onto the pavement and wasn't moving. Moving quickly, he was at Kakashi's side before the doctors had shaken out of their surprise. He quickly checked Kakashi-sensei's vitals and was relieved to find a steady pulse. When the doctors finally voiced their alarm, Naruto waved them away. "It's just chakra exhaustion," he explained to them, remembering when Kakashi had suffered the same illness in the aftermath of their first encounter with Zabuza before they had made it to Tezuna's house more than a week ago. Seeing their blank looks, he tried to recall the explanation Sakura had given him. "Chakra is like a life force or something," he explained hesitantly, "so if a ninja uses all of it up, they'll die. Kakashi-sensei used up most of his chakra, so he'll probably be unconscious for a day or two until enough of it comes back. Anyways, don't worry about him. You guys fix Haku up and I'll take care of Kakashi-sensei." Reminded of their purpose, the two doctors quickly went back to work. Naruto formed the hand seal for Kage Bunshin, molded chakra, and was rewarded with two distinctive noises as the shadow clones popped into existence. He sent the two clones to construct a stretcher for Kakashi. Afterwards, he waved energetically to his teammates. "Sakura-chan," he shouted, catching his pink-haired teammate's attention. "Kakashi-sensei faints again, and we're supposed to take Sasuke and Haku back to Tezuna's house. What do we?" Sasuke turned out the blonde idiots shouting, instead focusing on the two Kage Bunshin who were moving among the downed mercenaries, tearing cloth and testing spears and staffs. They were making a stretcher, he soon realized. Then another thought occurred to him. He was exhausted to the point that he could barely move and didn't even have enough chakra for a simple hinge. Kakashi had clearly fainted from chakra exhaustion. Yet Naruto, the dead last of the academy who had failed the graduation test 3 times in a row, still had enough chakra to produce Kage Bunshin, which was a level technique. Sasuke's eyes narrowed in frustration and anger. Was he really so weak? Had he misjudged Naruto that badly? How could he ever defeat his brother if he couldn't even keep up with an idiot like Naruto? Sakura noticed Sasuke begin shaking, but she assumed it was from exhaustion, missing the dark glint in his eyes. Naruto's clones had already finished with the stretchers, and Naruto himself had disappeared into the crowd to collect Tezuna. "Sasuke-kun," she began, "we should be heading back now. You need your rest, and I'm sure the doctor would have an easier time tending to your wounds at Tezuna-san's house than out here." Sasuke considered this. He wouldn't be able to get back to Tezuna's house under his own power, as he was now, but being carried back by Sakura or worse, Naruto, would be humiliating. However, he also knew that Sakura was right. "Fine," he assented. Sakura's barely contained expression of relief and barely concealed glee almost caused him to rethink his decision. "Oi, Naruto," he called instead. Several clones looked at him. "Bring me a stretcher," he demanded coolly. Inwardly, his guts writhed in humiliation at asking Naruto for any help, but at least his blonde teammate wouldn't get any strange ideas while carrying him. It was an odd convoy that departed from the incomplete bridge. 3 clearly injured people were borne on makeshift stretchers by 6 identical blonde ninja. In front, another blonde, looking exactly like the other 6, marched with barely contained impatience. Behind them was a pink-haired Kunoichi, who kept diverting her attention between one of the wounded and the old bridge builder beside her. Behind the odd pair was a large procession of armed islanders who had yet to shed their good cheer. To many it would be a very strange sight. To the inhabitants of the island who did not know of the events on the bridge, it would be even more amazing. It was amazing because, for the first time in many years, the citizens of the wave were smiling and happy. For a time, the poverty, fear, and the ugliness of human nature that had gripped the country of the wave for so long had been dispersed by hope and a renewed sense of courage, all due to the actions of a single inexperienced team of young Konoha ninja. Ada Kakashi was no stranger to fatigue. Saying that shinobi missions above D and C rank tended to be demanding would be an understatement. So yes, Kakashi was very familiar with fatigue in all of its many varied forms. He was also very familiar with being injured. However, if he was forced to choose one type of fatigue that he hated the most, Kakashi would probably say, chakra exhaustion. It was a very irritating condition. The enemy did not even have to hurt you for it to occur, and when it did happen, you pretty much became helpless for days on end while you waited for your chakra stores to replenish. Chakra exhaustion could lay even the strongest ninja low, and by the time a shinobi reached level, they had gone through enough life and death situations to hate feeling weak. In a relatively safe place, such as Konoha, Kakashi would not mind it so much. He could sit back in a hospital bed while nurses, preferably pretty ones, cared for his every need. He would also have all of the time in the world to read the ongoing Icha Icha series. However, dealing with chakra exhaustion during a mission was not pleasant. It was enough, in fact, to drive even a normally even-tempered up the wall, as paranoia and boredom took turns assaulting his sanity. Kakashi was grateful when Naruto entered his private room and broke his reverie. The blonde tended to be noisy and energetic as well as mildly amusing when teased. He could grate on the nerves, but for now Kakashi was thankful that Naruto was around to break the tedium. It had become a daily occurrence for Naruto to visit him separately from his teammates at least once a day. Of course, Kakashi had only been awake for 2 days, so calling it a daily occurrence was a bit premature, but it was shaping up to be that way. Kakashi knew that Naruto was coming more for his own sake than Kakashi. Naruto was all smiles, but Kakashi was good enough at looking underneath to see that inside, Naruto was an extremely troubled individual. There were times when he would grow silent, his eyes shadowed, and he would often begin to ask a question. Naruto had yet to follow through with it, and Kakashi had felt it would be best to let Naruto come to terms with things in his own time, so he let the younger ninja be. Naruto was Kakashi's primary source of information while he was bedridden. Sasuke was still confined to bed rest, and Sakura tended to hover over him like a mother hen, despite the dark-haired boy's clear irritation at her coddling. Thus, Naruto was acting in place of the rest of the team, escorting Tazuna everywhere he went and maintaining the perimeter around the house when Sakura couldn't be bothered to leave Sasuke's side. Kakashi worried sometimes, since Naruto wasn't exactly what he would call the sharpest kunai in the bunch. Still, nothing had happened yet, and Naruto had proven himself to be more capable than anyone, including Kakashi himself, had given him credit for. So, after the initial greetings were out of the way and Naruto settled down, the first thing Kakashi did was ask for a report. Naruto nodded, folding his arms and screwing his face up in concentration. Sasuke is finally able to stand up by himself, though he can't walk very far and is being a jerk about it. Naruto frowned in exaggerated disgust at his self-proclaimed rival's behavior. Sakura-chan is still hanging around Sasuke, and she's been really moody lately, he shivered, rubbing his jaw as if feeling a phantom pain. For all Kakashi knew, maybe he was. Sakura was a rather passionate girl, and despite the facade she adopted in front of most people, she had a quick temper. She also had the alarming tendency to express it physically. Kakashi thought it rather ironic that she expressed more of her true self in front of Naruto, whom she thought was annoying, than she did in front of Sasuke, whom the girl proclaimed to want to spend the rest of her life with. For Naruto it was a rather mixed blessing, since he was frequently the target of Sakura's wrath. Naruto visibly shook off whatever thoughts that had troubled him and perked up. The bridge is getting longer every day, he continued, this time with real enthusiasm. Old man Tazuna is getting a lot of help now, and it looks like the whole town is starting to pitch in. He smiled, puffing up proudly. Of course, without my cage bunshin, things would be going a lot slower. Anything unusual? Kakashi asked. Naruto's grin dropped from his face, quickly becoming serious. He knew what his teacher was asking. No, he said, shaking his head. I've been on the lookout, but I haven't noticed anyone suspicious. I scouted around the town, and I used henge to infiltrate the local gathering places, but there's nothing that hints at a counterattack. He stopped for a moment, looking at Kakashi for approval. The mask nodded, his single visible eye curling in what his students had come to recognize as a smile. Good job, he praised. It was a good job, too. A much better job than he had expected of Naruto, really. Once again, he had underestimated the blonde and was surprised. It also showed that the battle on the bridge had initiated some deep changes in Naruto. Expecting Naruto to show traits like caution or good sense had once been an exercise in futility. It seemed that the battle and Naruto's extra responsibilities while his team was largely incapacitated had started to prompt Naruto to think things through and consider things ahead of time. But while the battle seemed to be encouraging Naruto to mature, it had also left deep wounds that the boy was reluctant to confront. How's Haku? He asked casually. To his credit, Naruto no longer flinched when that name was brought up, but his eyes dimmed slightly and his lips quivered. Still hasn't woken up, Naruto replied, his voice unusually quiet. The doctor says he lost a lot of blood and that he needs to stay under observation for a week or two. The guilt on Naruto's face would be obvious even to an untrained civilian. Apparently Naruto realized that too, for a moment later he forced himself to brighten up. It looks like he'll be fine though, so everything's okay, he said cheerfully. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, what was that cool technique you used to heal him? The medical, replied the Jounin-sensei. They require a very high level of chakra control, not to mention knowledge of the human body, so I don't think they're your kind of thing. Naruto's face screwed up in distaste and disappointment at Kakashi's explanation. Putting that aside, how are you doing, Naruto? Kakashi stared at his student with a level gaze. It was time to confront the issue. Naruto gave him a confused look before a bright grin stretched across his face. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? He asked cheerfully. As you can see, he pounded his chest with a fist, I'm perfectly fine. You're the one who needs rest. Naruto stood and began making his way to the door. In fact, I should let you get to it. Tsunami Nichan will scold me again if I bother you for too long, he said. Naruto, Kakashi barked. Naruto stopped at the tone in his teacher's voice. The Jounin's tone gentled as he continued, you're going to have to talk about it eventually. It's been several days and you've had time to reflect on things. Now you should talk about it. Otherwise, it will fester inside of you and you'll end up consumed by all sorts of ugly emotions. Naruto was silent for a long time. Kakashi watched as the Genin's fists clenched and unclenched in indecision, but the boy didn't deny that he knew what Kakashi was talking about. Finally, Naruto turned and sat beside the Futon once more. He stared down at his hands for a long moment. Kakashi waited patiently. Sensei began before stopping again. Naruto took a deep breath. You mean he trailed off again, before continuing hurriedly, when was the first time you killed someone? Kakashi looked out through the windows, taking in the ocean view for several silent moments. I was 6, he said finally. Seeing Naruto's surprise, he smiled faintly. When I was young, it was a period full of war. Students went into the academy at much younger ages and became genin at a younger age as well. Kakashi sighed, I was considered to be a genius, so I went in several years earlier than most. I became a genius quickly. Like you, I killed a man on my first C-rank mission 2 months after I graduated. It was just a simple road patrol mission, but my team encountered a group of soldiers from Lightning Country. I don't know what they were doing so deep in Fire Country, but the Fire Country and Lightning Country were at war, so we attacked. I killed 2 soldiers. The first one died as we descended from the treetops. I broke his neck. The second, I was killed with a kunai to the throat. Kakashi grimaced slightly under his mask. It was messy. Naruto stared at his teacher for a long time, wide-eyed. Then, in a small voice, he asked, does it get easier? Kakashi sighed. It depends, he said finally, on what type of person you are. For some, it never gets easier. Other shinobi grow to like killing. Naruto looked horrified at this, and Kakashi smiled. It doesn't look like he'll turn out to be the second type, at least. Despite what most people in Konoha seem to think. The last thought was a sour one. For most, he continued, well, they got used to it. A ninja's trait is death, after all. Humans can grow used to a lot of things, given enough exposure. If you survive long, as a ninja, you'll probably end up killing a lot of people. You'll get used to it, if only, as a survival mechanism. After all, grief is a luxury you can't afford often in the field. Feeling sympathy for the enemy will get you killed, and maybe your teammates too. Very few of your enemies will hesitate to kill you. Naruto frowned, clearly unhappy. Naruto, Kakashi murmured, when you were fighting against Haku, and later with Zabuza, how did you feel while using the Kyuubi's chakra? It was not the most tactful thing to ask, especially while Naruto was still dealing with the emotional backlash of his first kills, but Kakashi needed to know. He had gotten Sakura's and Naruto's reports on the battle earlier, but there had never been a good opportunity to broach the subject of the Kyuubi's influence until now. Kyuubi's chakra? Naruto looked aghast. Kakashi blinked in surprise, you didn't know? No, Naruto trailed off, looking even more dejected than he had before. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.